Welcome to CLIC Connect. I'm your host, Craig Sullivan. And guess what? We got Jim Butler, head of the Global Hospitality Practice at JMBM, joining the conversation today. Jim, my friend, how are you?
I'm great, Craig. Thank you for having me. What a pleasure.
Oh, it is. I've been looking forward to this show for a long time, and thank you for being here. As you know, Jim is the best. He is, legal mind, legal team, hospitality, has a passion for our industry just like everybody else does. So, Jim, let's just jump right into this. Your team have been very active with PACE financing, or CPACE. Jim also coined the phrase hotel enhanced mixed use development, and I've been using that phrase since he released it. So
that's right. You remember.
Jim, what is CPACE? Could you tell the audience, please?
Love to. It is probably one of the hottest things going in the hotel industry. We are going to be reading a lot in the headlines in the coming months about inflation. Hopefully that will only be for 2 or 3 quarters, but up there and ahead of that is going to be PACE and CPACE. PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. It's just an acronym. And CPACE, or Commercial PACE, that they're the same thing, just mean PACE financing for any kind of commercial real estate. So hotels are not the only kind. It's being used for multifamily and office and other things, but it is really one of the best things developed and available right now for hotels. It's essentially an extension of the school district assessments or the fire or flood assess. So it actually goes on your property taxes. It's not technically a loan. It's something you pay along with your property taxes twice a year. And it's available to finance any eligible expenses, which are a big variety of things.
So, Jim, on those eligible expenses, I would venture to guess that would mean, say, new HVAC systems, water purification, water savings devices, lighting packages that are all energy friendly that you may be doing, in whether it's new construction or some sort of deep renovation. Is that correct?
That is spot on. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of categories of eligible expenses. They started with this clean energy idea. This is not tied to LEED. You do not have to have any kind of LEED certification. Just doing elevators, doing roofs, doing new windows, all of those expenses are eligible expenses. To give you an idea of how expansive the term is, in current projects, renovations or new construction, up to 80% of the total hard and soft costs are eligible for PACE. It's pretty amazing.
I think that's very amazing, and it really seems like its time has come now, because if you've got the financial well-being that you're either doing a PIP or a deep renovation or repositioning of a hotel asset, this is the time to take advantage of that. Now, working with the various lenders out there as you do, Jim, how easy is it to get the lenders on board with this being part of the financial stack on the debt side with this?
PACE, to give you an idea, PACE has kind of exploded in the last 3 years. In some ways, it reminds me of EB5, which had a window where it was a very valuable source of financing, whatever the political issues were. And unlike EB5, this is not a federal government program. The federal government is not in it at all. It is authorized by states, and there's no federal approval or whatever along with it. But it's been cooking, simmering on the back burner for more than 10 years, close to 15 years. And it has taken that long with steady, consistent support to gain the momentum that it has now. By 2020, there was $800 million of PACE funding that had been done. And in the last year, through May of 2021, it had increased to 1.5 billion. So it almost doubled in the last 12 months through May of this year. It requires state authorization, and there are now 36 states that, including plus the District of Columbia, that authorize it. 24 have active programs. It is available for all commercial real estate. New York is just implementing it now. I mean, it was supposed to be Earth Day. What was that, April 28th? And it got delayed a couple of days. But New York City alone could double the number and amount of PACE financing. But I'm sorry, I kind of wandered. You said, how easy is it? Because it is evolving, it still has a little bit of a novel element to it. The explosion that you've heard of, this is also queued up because of the pandemic. So many hotels either dipped in to their FF&E reserve, they were surviving. They weren't worried about redoing the ballroom. And the brands are now coming back, or will be coming back, and saying it's time for a PIP. We've got to reinforce those brand standards. We want those FF&E reserves. So where's that going to come from? Hopefully you will be in the lead wave that enjoys the soaring 20s that I believe is in front of us. But if it takes a little longer, some are going to be hard pressed. And CPACE financing is a perfect source for that. Most of these PIPs and improvements will be eligible up to 100% to be funded by CPACE. The difficulty will be the one that you raised, not the lack of lenders. We can help somebody find CPACE lenders. They're pretty abundant, but the real key is that the senior debt must be subordinated to the new CPACE, and more senior lenders are becoming PACE friendly. They're getting used to the idea. Some of the features that we may talk about in a few minutes actually make the senior lenders comfortable. But that is the toughest part, and more senior lenders are getting comfortable with this.
I would hope so. I mean, you and I have a terrific history with lenders. Robert Lowe at East West Bank, Keegan Bish at Stonehill, and these guys get it. Now, taxes typically impounded, and the lender's in control of that. So I could see, I'm going to sign the subordination because at the end of the day, I'm not going to let them default on their taxes. And if they're defaulting on their taxes, you got bigger issues.
Exactly.
So,
I think the key here is we actually have seen one case in which PACE financing was used for 80% of the cost of a new hotel. So, I mean, it effectively, that was the financing. That's really extraordinary. And I don't know that that's really the right use of PACE. Something 15, 20, 25% of your total capital stack probably works out a little better. But the features of PACE are so attractive that senior lenders almost view it as more equity or a preferred equity or something. And if you're ready for it, I'd like to tell you some of those features. It's pretty
please. I was just going to ask you to give us some features, and then I'm going to play counterpoint and ask you give me two challenges after that, Jim. So
okay. Well, we've already touched on one, but look, this is fixed rate financing. The cost is normally in the order of 5 or 6%. It's 20 to 30 year term. There is no personal recourse. let me repeat that, no personal recourse. And in case you missed it, no personal recourse. Developers love that. You can set it up for capitalized interest, so there are no payments for the first couple of years. You can negotiate interest only at the front end for a bit. There is no acceleration on default. So unlike a typical mortgage, if you miss a payment, that payment is due and you're going to owe it, but the whole sum doesn't come due. That's pretty phenomenal. And senior lenders like that. So they aren't suddenly going to have something ahead of them that is the entire amount of the CPACE loan, one payment or however many payments are in default are ahead of them. It's generally prepayable, fully assumable. There's no due on sale. It can be a meaningful portion of the capital stack. As I say, easily 15, 20%, and up to 80% of new hard and soft costs are eligible. It's fast and efficient. Most people say it's much easier than a typical mortgage loan, that there's less due diligence and paperwork and processing and much faster. There are limited default triggers and there are no financial covenants or tests. So, what's not to love?
I love that already. And, especially considering if you're trying to get a deal closed, contingency free in 30 days, you've typically had maybe a 10, possibly 15-day due diligence period. So you're looking at 45 days. You're off to the races and it's done. And it's not holding up the closing. You don't have to buy an extension so that you're not out of contract and all of that. I think it's brilliant. I also like the idea that if you use that for that 10, 15% gap, it is far cheaper money than a lot of alternatives that are out there. So
5 or 6%, big developers can get senior debt at a little less than that, maybe in the 3 or 4%.
Right.
But mezz debt is usually in the teens, and this is 5 or 6% looks mighty cheap compared to.
Yeah, but it looks mighty good. Mighty good. So, and that's great. Now, okay, you're getting deals closed. You've got, the PACE component to it. You've got a first lender involved. You've got, a great sponsor for the loan. You've got a seller that doesn't have any pressures. Okay, they haven't defaulted on their loans. They have gotten forgiveness on round 1 of the PPP. Maybe they do or don't have a secondary round of that. And if they do, those haven't been, released as of yet or forgiven. So you've got to hold that aside in escrow to get it closed, which I don't think is really a big deal. It might upset some people, but I think that's just a timing issue right now. And you can draw interest from the title company who's holding it. So are you still able, time kills all deals, even good ones. Are you still able to get things closed in 30 days, Jim?
Well, we have done PACE deals in 30 days and less. A little more comfortable at just because there's the process. There are options. You want to meet different people. You want to explore who is the right PACE lender for you. You do, while much of it is just formula, there are some negotiable terms, as I mentioned before. And, this is a little like a franchise agreement. You don't want to waste your time on all the stuff that you can't negotiate. You want to spend your time on 3, 4, 5 points that you can, and then you move to get it closed. And everybody will have their own dynamic and timing of responding in the back and forth. It can be done in 30 days. More comfortably, I'd say 45 or 60 from start to finish.
Okay. Very good. Very good. My friend, we are just about out of time. So how can people get a hold of you? It's time for a shameless plug, Jim.
Well, I'm Jim Butler, the hotel lawyer. If you Google hotel lawyer, I will come up as the first 5 searches organically on that. That takes you to our website. You'll see my picture, my phone number, my email. Please reach out. We love to talk with people in the hotel industry and see how we can help.
Absolutely. I got to tell you, from personal experience and full transparency, I've closed deals with Jim. We've worked together for decades. I've gotten old. He stopped aging. I think he's got a picture hanging up in the attic of the house, but I can't confirm that. I've only been in the wine cellar, so I don't know what to say. But great team over at JMBM. Matter of fact, Jim is joining us at CLIC 5 live and in person on October 5th. He is on one of our panels, and David Sudak from his team is also going to be on a special roundtable that we're doing hotel development, the agony and the ecstasy. We are featuring the JW Marriott, our new home, the crown jewel of the Anaheim resort area. Jim, my friend, you've got an open invitation to come back anytime. I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
I'll be back. Thank you, Craig.
And I'd like to thank you, our audience, for joining us today. You know, producer Danny's running a scroll. Here's where you can get registered. There's a promo code so that you can get a discount for CLIC 5. And I'm not going to tell you. You got to write it down, okay? Please go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, ring the bell. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. We're on all the social media platforms. And if you've got an idea for a show or a guest, you know, reach out to me. Do you want to be on the show? Reach out to producer Danny and I. We'd love to have you on. So remember, be kind, share your knowledge. Now go be amazing.